What's up, guys? We are back with Brian Tracy's Sales Success, and today we are going to be diving into chapters 13 and 14. Now, I just had a conversation with an agent yesterday talking about the topic of chapter 13, and that is make effective presentations. Now, whether it is a buyer presentation or marketing consultation or listing presentation in real estate, you want to make sure that you make effective presentations. Now, what I know is that many times we work on a lot of things, but we don't practice our presentations. Therefore, they aren't effective when the lights come on and when it's most important. So what is an effective presentation? I think that Brian does a fantastic job talking about these and covering some points. So we're going to dive into a few of the main points here in chapter 13. The first one says 95% of presentations can be improved upon in some way. 95%. Now, I like to believe that I'm in that elite 5% class, but I know when I speak to my mentors, or even when I speak to, sellers or buyers that I'm working with, they always have feedback for me, which I graciously accept and welcome. So I know that I am in that 95% of presentations that can be improved upon in some way. Keep working on your presentation until you sell successfully to a qualified prospect almost every time. Now, selling to a qualified prospect almost every time, that is a conversion rate deal, and you want to make sure that you're keeping track of your conversion rates so that you can know what needs to be tweaked, where your homework or where your focus needs to be when you're not with that customer or client. You want to follow a logical process. That's the next thing that Brian says in his book here. It says that the presentation is a logical, orderly way of moving from the general to the specific. So when we talk about, and I'm going to speak in terms of real estate first, we know that most sellers, when you're talking about listing a property, the only thing they want to know is how much am I going to put in my pocket, which backs out to how much can I sell my property for. Now, as Brian says here in Follow a Logical Process, the presentation is a logical, orderly way of moving from the general to the specific. So dealing with the example of a seller, we usually want to begin with wide general market stats, maybe break it down to single family or condos, depending on whatever the seller has, and then come into their area, their neighborhood, and then finally arrive at a market position for their property. So that's the logical step and orderly. I know many agents. When I started, fortunately, I had mentors who helped me avoid this issue, but many agents just go into any type of presentation. Many people, when they're in a sales presentation, just go in without an orderly, logical process to get the customer or the client to a yes. The presentation formula. Here's a presentation formula that many of the top sales professionals in the world still use to this day, myself included. Here's what he says. Plan your presentation thoroughly in advance. Don't just show up and wing it. You're not going to get the repeatable, consistent results that you hope for. Plan your presentation thoroughly in advance. Think on paper. Review your presentation prior to every customer meeting, no matter how many times you've done the presentation. Now, this could be, well, Neil, is it worth my time? Is it not worth my time to do this? Because we're also going to talk about productivity mastery, or the myth of time management. But he says practice before every presentation that you give. I am a firm believer in that, and the more you practice, the better you get. The best formula for making a sales presentation is to show, tell, and ask questions. So show, tell, and ask questions. You want to show the prospect what your product is. You want to tell the prospect how they're going to benefit, and then you want to ask any questions, such as, did I answer any questions, all of your questions, or did you have an additional question or a topic or pain point that you would like answered? Most importantly, in a presentation, I know we love to talk about ourselves. However, clients want to hear stories. So you want to utilize the story to get your point and your product's value across to your customer. Perhaps the most powerful tool that you can use in making a persuasive presentation is what is called an anecdotal selling. So that is when you come and you tell stories, where, I once had this customer very similar to you who did this. And you could tell that story. Now, we also talked about, we're going to talk about in following chapters, the power of a third-party endorsement or a testimonial. But you do want to implement stories into your presentation. And when you do that, you allow your customer to see themselves in the eyes and through the eyes of that customer who bought in the story. You want to tell lots of success stories about your happy customers. The reason why this technique is so powerful is because all buying decisions, and I want to stress to you, listen closely to this. The reason why this technique is so powerful is because all buying decisions are made in the right brain, and the right brain is activated by pictures, images, and stories of different kinds. So the creative side of the brain is making the decisions. The pictures, the stories, the images, that's what we want to, that's what we want to speak to when we're telling these stories, so that we can get our customers in the right frame of mind and understand what benefit they have working with us. So that's going to do it for chapter 13, and that was make effective presentations. We've got another video coming. Chapter 14 is all about practicing the power of suggestion. Make sure that you click on that video. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be amazing. I promise. I cannot tell a lie. That's going to do it for this video. Most importantly, don't be average. Be world renowned.